Hello everyone and welcome to a new installment of AV Veterans Talk. I'm your host Bob Alvis, and this week we're speaking with John Roth, an Air Force veteran, Edwards aerospace worker for many years and resident of the Antelope Valley. Well, John, I want to thank you for this edition of Aerotech News online, I guess what we call this, and a little bit of history on you. You're John Roth, Antelope Valley native for, my gosh, I don't want to look at your age.
No, we're not going into the age part.
Okay, we won't go into the age part. Okay. Yeah, you're very nested in the aerospace community. You're an Air Force veteran and served for 4 years, and then you were out at flight test for what, 35 years. And you also had a very famous father figure,
Yeah.
and mom that kept all you guys in check, right?
Yep.
Rusty Roth, World War II
P-38 pilot, South Pacific, and went on to become a test pilot at Edwards Air Force Base and for Republic Aircraft, and finished up his career in real estate, of all things. Right.
So that's pretty cool. So you yourself, your journey, we'll start out with you a little bit here. I think you were born in Long Beach, California.
Born at the Naval Center in Long Beach due to the fact that Muroc Army Air Corps Base didn't have any facilities at the time, so Mom was taken to Long Beach for birthing, and then spent a couple of years out there before Republic brought Dad over from the Air Force. But and so I kind of born, raised, grew up in the aerospace industry. I've always thought of all the people that used to come visit my dad when I was a kid, and I had no idea who these people were until I got older. You know, there was some pretty famous people that were his friends.
Absolutely.
You know, it's just amazing to think that.
Well, you just probably took it for granted, obviously, as a young guy, when Chuck Yeager would show up at the house with all the other test pilots, and no?
Had no idea who he was, other than he was Dad's friend. He liked to go hunting and fishing.
Yeah. I've got a picture somewhere where your dad and Chuck and a couple other guys are pheasant hunting or something out on the...
That was actually the original Rod and Gun Club, and they were getting, it was my dad, Yeager, Bill Smith, and the fire chief. They took a picture. It was over on the old South Base near the sled track. And matter of fact, I just worked with Environmental out at the Edwards. They're cleaning all the lead up on that side of the base right now, and they had no idea that the original Rod and Gun Club was there.
Wow.
Because the current one, which is over where near Poncho's old place, that's the second one, not the first one.
Right. Wow. And so you get to grow up in that atmosphere there. Your schooling, did you go to school out at Muroc, or did you go to AV? Or?
I went to Eastside Elementary and then Antelope Valley High School. And then a young man by the name of Richard Nixon asked me to join his military. So I ended up doing 4 years in the Air Force.
Gosh, I bet you even sent you an invitation in the mail, correct?
Yeah, it was something like a Dear John letter.
Oh, it's great. So you graduated from AV High School what year?
67.
1967. And, of course, to follow in Dad's footsteps, and like a lot of us wingnuts, you went to the Air Force.
Right.
And basic in Lackland?
Basic in Lackland, and then I did technical school was in Illinois, Chanute, and then I was stationed at Travis working the en route airplanes, they were called. So it didn't belong to the base, and it landed there. It was our job to get it going again.
Right.
And we averaged from December 68 to June of 72 when I was there. We averaged 550 turns a month.
Wow.
We had 6 to 7 man crews. We worked 24/7.
Wow.
Constantly.
Yeah. And where were you stationed at through your career?
Just Travis.
Just Travis, that was it? And that was a MAC?
It was the Military Airlift Command.
Right. And anything special happened during those years that stand out? Just you?
No, it was just the job, get the airplanes going. 75% of most of the cargo going over to the Southeast Asia area went through Travis, and about 80% of the people went through Travis. So we were constantly we'd have 5 or 6 airplanes on the ground all the time.
Yeah, because I guess the shuttle to Vietnam
Yep.
was
They were all going there.
They were coming home and leaving from there. So,
Speaking of the coming home, that was always something that was a joy to watch, because the government had contracted with the civilian airliners to haul the people, and they would come in and land, and the guys are returning from Southeast Asia, and they'd come down the boarding ladder and hit the ground kissing it. They were so happy to be home.
yeah. And that was the joy of coming back to a military base in Vietnam, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the
Coming
so
home, that was the big thing for them.
That was a big thing. So, well, we'll go ahead and take our first break, and when we finish this, when we come back to the next section, we'll talk about your getting involved with as a civilian out at Edwards Air Force Base there. Okay.
Yeah, we're up on
All
that.
right. So we'll be right back.